Kelly's Eye, brought to you by Ellis Brown Architects.
Peter, what's Kelly's Eye looking at today?
Today, David, it's a carving. It's a carving in a piece of what could be, of course we're here in the dark and looking at it in light, could be a piece of greenish slate. Could be grey as well, can't tell. And in the corner it looks like a cross between a swan, a liver bird and a chicken sitting on a nest.
There's a three legs of man on it, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's a Viking ship with a sort of cross of St George on or whatever. In fact, the Viking ship, if you look at it, looks like a bit of a dragon going along. Anyway, we shouldn't despair. We're looking at a plaque, and the plaque has Archibald Knox style writing, which therefore means it's hard to read, or can be hard to read. And it actually says Chester Street Car Park, opened by His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor, Sir John Warburton Paul, and then his GKMG, OBE, MC, etc. And Lady Paul, 15th of June 1978, and then this little didgeridoo in the corner, which obviously the chap has had difficulty carving. And what looks like a swan on a nest is really the eagle and child, and then beneath it says, "Please do not feed the pigeons."
Do you recognise the designer's work though? Who might have done that?
Well, as the Department of Local Government Board, I think we're involved. The Local Government Board, not the Department of Local Government, were involved. I would very much imagine that the late Ronnie Fell probably designed this. He, I'm fairly certain, designed the one in the entrance to Government Office, and indeed I would suggest to the police station.
Yes.
The car park itself, I'm scratching my head and thinking, I've got an idea that something like Overroop, the international engineers, designed the car park. It wasn't a firm of architects. And of course Douglas Corporation had a great involvement. They purchased all the land. Hard to remember the street now, but I mean, it's called Chester Street Car Park, but in fact it was facing what takes its entrance off Wellington Square. So you had Wellington Square, you had Chester Street,
Wellroad Hill.
Wellroad Hill, going up the side, Edward Lane, Frederick Street.
Very narrow little lanes where they were.
Well, they were, yet there were houses, on both sides going off, and quite a community here. So the whole lot were bought by the corporation over a period of years. I mean, they were buying them from the mid-60s easily, and some ended up being bought by compulsory purchase. In fact, I think Mr. Bossendover's garage, if you remember, that was one of the last buildings to be acquired. The whole lot was demolished. They came across several wells underneath, and then, of course, construction work started. Now, can you remember who built it?
No.
I think it was the firm Myton. Myton also built Victory House, which was similar period,
right.
or it was another firm within the Myton group, and they constructed its reinforced concrete and upstairs. You can see from the shuttering, they had these fiberglass moulds. Of which then were all put together, supported underneath, concrete poured in with reinforcement. And the moulds I remember seeing lying up in the gasworks yard years later. Somebody thought they'd be ideal for cattle troughs, but of course, being fiberglass, the cattle tended to eat the edges, so they weren't.
Yes.
And underneath, which was all part of the master plan, of course, the biggest and largest supermarket appeared, because the only supermarket we really had at that time was the Maypole, which of course was the converted Palais de Danse. So suddenly there was this new supermarket here. I think it opened as the Maypole, and then
was it Lipton's maybe?
It changed to Lipton's because they were all part of the same group,
Yes.
And of course it's become Safeway, and technically I suppose it's now Morrison's. And then in this area where we're standing, you had the cafe, which I think at some point was called the Millennium Cafe. Certainly the tables had maps of the Isle of Man on, and Orrisdale in a most peculiar place.
Yeah.
And then over here, obviously, the toilets. And I think that was a bookies in the corner. It appears to be or have been a cop shop or something of recent times. I have to say it's actually brighter now, because it was just the concrete before. They've painted the ceiling white, and the pillars are cream and brown. Actually, what they need is a black line between the two, and then I think you've gone back into most of the schools in the Isle of Man, which had these walls of a brown dado and cream above.
It was created here in 78, of course, as we see from that sign. We've been doing this program since, 1983 or whatever it is. How's it taken us so long to get around to talking about this important area here?
Couldn't find a place to park.
Many of the most iconic buildings around the island have been designed by Ellis Brown Architects. Keep up with Ellis Brown today on Facebook or via ellisbrown.im.